And you guys, if you guys have questions, Instagram, if you have questions along the way, put them in the chat, because towards the end, I will generally go back and answer questions. Hello, everybody. Let's try this again. Let's see if everybody can hear me. Wait for people to get on. Let me know if you guys can hear me right away, because I don't want to go through 10 minutes of talking just to find out that you guys can't hear me. Yay! Thank you, Jillian. Thank you. All right, let's give this another try. I am also broadcasting live on Instagram, so that's who I was talking to when you guys came on. I am sorry about the technical difficulties. It happens. All right, so you guys give this video a share. Let everybody know what's happening. This is big information. We don't want to miss it. We are talking December's energy update, the event. It's also known as the Great Awakening, the Great Activation. Yay, thank you guys all for hopping on and telling me that you can hear me now. Sounds like a Verizon commercial, right? Can you hear me now? We have so much energy in the room. I'm already beginning to sweat, so you'll probably start seeing me strip my clothes. For those of you who are new to me, because there's always new people that pop on, I am Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional teacher and healer. And my mission here is to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be on all levels, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I work with a lot of healers and teachers and people who want to be way showers and coaches and guides to clear their channel. And when I say clear their channel, what that means is I'm a ground up teacher. So I help clear the density so that your gifts open naturally, right? Because every single person on this planet has spiritual gifts. There's nobody who does not. And so we don't want to force them open. We want them to open naturally by clearing the density. So when they do open, it's not traumatic, right? So you're supported in a very gentle opening. So that's a lot of what I'm here to do. I'm here to really create the next set of way showers and teachers that are going to be leading the new earth, right? So in that way, I'm kind of the old ancient teacher, the wisdom keeper. And so we have a lot to talk about, and I'm not going to be able to do it all in one broadcast. So I will be coming live multiple times this month. There's just way too much information to share. I've had 5 days of downloads coming in from the ninth dimensional Pleiadians, from the Galactic Federation, and from the ancients. So lots of information's coming through. And if you're new to how I read energy, I read it by communicating with my guides and other guides that step forward. I am able to communicate with the planets because they are living sentient beings, okay? I'm not an astrologer, but I am able to take information that I connect and bring that in through my own way of reading that information, all right? And then I also tap into the collective and really see what the collective is experiencing and feeling. What I'm going to tell you is this broadcast is always a quantum conversation. So at any time, if you don't understand what I'm saying, just drop into your heart space and know that it's being seated, and what you need to know, you will be given. You don't have to try to make sense of it. And at any time, if I say anything that does not resonate with you, that is okay. We don't have to resonate on every single thing that I say. Truth is subjective, okay? Not everything is true, but there's truth in everything, is what the Pleiadians always say. So it may not be your truth today. It may never be your truth, and that's okay. But don't let one thing I say ruin everything. Allow what resonates to stay and let go of the rest, okay? I'd also like to say I just want to give a shout out. I've had a lot of donations coming in on YouTube when I go live. And so you can just do that through Super Chat. And so I've had a request to put that link up on my Facebook account for those who want to donate, just because I give so much good information on these. And if you do, fabulous. If you don't, I'm not asking. It's just there. If you feel called to do so, you can. All right. So let's really dive in, because you guys, this is so much. So let's do a quick review. Earlier this year, over the summer, we talked about the ancients, right? The ancients showed up for me, and they're this huge, huge energy. And what they were talking about was this underbelly of karma, right? This karmic energy that was rising up to the surface. And they were talking about the rise of the ruins, the rise of the ruins. And so what we have witnessed over this year has been a slow upheaval of that karmic underbelly, okay? Because this great conjunction that we're going to be talking about between Saturn and Jupiter, this, including Pluto, has come into play into that as well. We've had several points throughout this year where they have intersected. And each one of those times, there has been a karmic cleansing that's been happening on the planet. It's also kind of aligned with the toilet paper shortages. So go figure, right? Because when you're purging, you're purging. You know, you have to purge the mental, then the physical, or I mean, excuse me, the mental, the emotional, and then the physical. Always in that order. There's always the awareness, and then you have an emotional release, and then you have a physical release, okay? And then it's about integration and embodiment. Those are the 4 stages of that purification process that's happening. And so this is going to be the big daddy of conjunctions that hasn't happened in over 800 years in this way, okay? But the shift has actually happened similarly every 20 years, and we're going to talk about that as well. So this has been building. We don't let go all at once. That would be super traumatic, okay? That would be ridiculously traumatic to let go all at once. And so this is a layered process. And if you look back through history, you will see how these shifted in the 60s, right? With the burning of the bras and the we're feminine queens and we can do everything, right? We gave away our secret, and now we have to be like a man and work and do the children and do the house and have businesses and do all these things. But that's what we asked for, isn't it? In the 60s, when women started burning their bras, I was not alive yet, but started burning their bras and protesting for equal rights, we stepped into that realm of, now we want to be equal to you. But the feminine is coming back. The feminine is returning. We weren't supposed to be equal. And I know this is going to trigger people, but we are not equal, and we were never meant to be in that way. We have our gifts. We have our strengths, okay? I wasn't even planning on talking about that. So apparently that needed to be said. So we've had a lot of that happening, right? So let's kind of just dive into some where we are, and we'll just let the Pleiadians step in. They'll step in shortly, and they'll just take over what's going to happen. So the theme this month is going to be what you believe will be. What you believe will be. This is really important for you guys to hear me say this, okay? What you believe will be. Your beliefs create your reality. But the thing is most people don't realize that their beliefs aren't always their own. Their beliefs were programmed from childhood, from going to school, from society. And they just do things for no reason. They don't have a core reasoning for the why they believe what they believe. That's just what they believe, right? So as we go forward this month and beyond, right, all of my updates are now and beyond, okay? It's just this progression of domino that we go through, this rolling forward, right? This evolution. What's going to be unveiled is going to be really hard for people to believe in the beginning, but the purpose is to kind of create that wiggle room between infinite potential and possibility and what your belief is. It's really trying to open that door so that you can get a little bit of fresh air in and have a little bit different perspective on the things that are happening in the world, okay? And whatever you believe is what you will experience. So if you believe in COVID, then you will have, or the C word, I don't want to use that word on this broadcast. If you believe in the C word, then you have the potential of those things playing out. If you don't believe, then it's not really going to affect you, right? It's not going to have that, it's not going to be in your face. So your beliefs have a direct correlation with what you are going to see, sense, and feel moving forward. It's really important that you guys hear me when I say this, because people like to use fear as manipulation. And I've done it. I'm one of those people. I've learned as I go. And we tell people the scary stuff to hope that that will wake them up. But honestly, it doesn't. It just sends them into a spiral. And one of the things that the Pleiadians have been saying, and even the Galactic Federation of Light has been saying, is it's going to get really hard for them to give us concrete predictions moving forward. Meaning, be wary of people that give you dates of, on this date, the world's going to collapse, right? I wouldn't pay attention to that. The reason is because the more people awaken and become super aware that they are more than this physical body, that there's more here than this physical experience, okay? The more of us shift into that 5D consciousness where there is no linear time. You guys have followed me for a long enough time, you know that time doesn't exist. we created a 1260 timing frequency on this planet to put things into a linear perspective so we could learn and evolve, okay? But when you shift into a different consciousness, you begin to lose time. And so when you lose time, it makes it really difficult to predict the time. Do you see where I'm going with this? So the more people shift into that 5D consciousness and above and expand and open their mind, the less we lean on and use the frequency of time, okay? So I hope you guys are following. So what you believe will be is the theme this month. So this is very much an individual journey this month, all right? So we do have a few themes that I'm going to go over, but I really want to dive into the individual journey because this is what always I get questioned. Like, what are we going to feel this month? What's going to happen? What are the possibilities? What are the potentials? And so I really want to spend a little bit of time going over this. And then towards the end of the broadcast, the most important thing, I'm going to tell you how to freaking navigate it. I want to tell you how to not survive it, but thrive in it. The things that you are going to need. I'm going to give away some secrets and really be sharing some things with you. So individual journey, we're going to be talking karmic purging. Some serious dark nights of the soul are possible. Loss of life. This was something I struggled with putting on here, but I'm going to explain a little bit why I have that on here. Spontaneous awakenings. The crystalline body template is going to be coming online, and this is diamond energy, gamma rays, clarity and confusion, and I have both of them there, and I'm going to explain, and rapid detoxification. That's what you have the potential of experiencing here. That's a lot, right? And that can be overwhelming. But when you understand the conjunction that's happening, you have Saturn who's in charge of war and karma and restriction. This is the energy of the fall of full-on empires. How many of you guys, let me know in the comments, have heard people talk about this energy being similar to the fall of Atlantis? There's a reason for that, right? So while Atlantis happened roughly, if we're going to put a linear time on it, 1 million years ago, right? And we're not coming that far back, but that's the fall of empires. And that was an internal battle. Atlantis was an internal battle gone wrong because we are walking projectors. Okay, what's happening in here gets projected out there, which creates our reality. So it's very important for you guys to start understanding that concept, that if you don't like what's in front of you, what's happening in your reality, if you don't like what you're experiencing, there's something inside of you that's a resonant match to that, that's actually creating that, okay? So we need to look at these things. So when Saturn conjuncts Jupiter at 0 degrees Aquarius, okay, this is a giant karmic cleansing. Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter is the return of the people, right? Just as Aquarius is. Jupiter is justice, human rights, right? So what are we doing? We're opening, and this is what they showed me. They showed me a line in like a tube form, and they showed this as it comes in to that 0 point, just this massive expansion happening. And imagine if you have something that, let's say you burned fish or something in your house, right? What are you going to do? That energy is trapped in there. So what do? You open the windows, you open the doors, and you air it out. Well, we're going through an elemental shift from an earth element to an air element, which is Aquarius. So we're opening up this line, this karmic underbelly that's been brought up to the surface for, I'm going to say it in linear terms so people can understand, for thousands and thousands of years, thousands of lifetimes, thousands of ancestral lines included in that. It's being expanded, and like this big burst of air is going to come in. That's what I'm talking about with karmic cleansing. Like, this is no joke. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, my own personal experience, because as way showers, right, some of you are going to go first. And you go first, meaning you're going to go through the mini dark night of the soul. You're going to go through the karmic purging, because those who are newly awakened, who are just now awakening and going through this, aren't going to know what's happening to them. And they're going to be looking on the internet. They're going to be looking for people who are out there saying, it's okay, I can help you, you're safe, right? So it's really, really important if you are someone who considers themselves a light worker or a way shower, a healer, a coach, a teacher, to show up and be online and be present, stepping fully into your gifts and saying, I'm here, I'm ready. Okay. And if you're not, you're going to get the push. You're going to feel it because the call, they call it a clarion call, has gone out. The call has gone out, and it's waking everybody up on a huge level. Okay. Because we now have the power to shift things. So last month, I talked about the power of the people, right? And that we get to take our power back. The people that are controlling the government and our country are a minority. We are a majority. And yet so many still look to the news, look to the media, and look outside of themselves for leadership, for governorship, for what do I do? Mother, may I? Can I do this? Can I do that? And that has got to stop. Okay. And this is going to help with that. This is going to be rebellious energy. This is going to be civil disobedient energy. This is going to be people taking their power back. Now, is this all going to happen in one shot? No, not at all. It's going to be a slow unfoldment. Okay. And before we go any further, I want to say this because it's coming in right now. And that is, when I tapped into the collective and was trying to figure out what everybody's experiencing and feeling, what I noticed is there are so many people, including the light worker community, that is waiting for the other shoe to drop. There are so many people that are not living their life right now because they feel like they have to wait and see what happens. And when you do that, when you look outside of yourself to say, can I live my life? Can I open my store? Can I travel? Can I have sovereignty over my body and choose what I want to do with it? When you give that power away, you become powerless, right? So now it's the return of the power. Now it's the time for us to say, I am going to lead myself. I am going to choose how I'm going to live. I'm not going to wait for anything to happen. You guys, we have never, ever, ever, ever experienced a shift like this. There is no known way to navigate it other than the information that people like me are given, and you trusting your intuition and listening to yourself and not anyone outside of yourself, including me if it does not resonate with you. This is super important. You guys can drop all the questions you want because I will get to questions towards the end, okay? So if you don't, I won't answer them right now, but I will get to them. So that's really important that you guys understand that you have the potential to take your power back, right? We have to come together. We have to unify so that we decide as a humanity to say no more. If that means I have to grow my own food, if that means I have to teach my own children, if that means I have to do things my own way, if I have to create a community that is off the grid or whatever, I don't see that being a huge thing. But there's already tons of people that have moved off the grid. But it's because there's going to be this grand shift where we go from the industrial revolution to the technical, right, revolution, which means there's going to be a lot of businesses that close down. There's going to be a lot of industry that closes down and new industry that is created, right? Because we're going into that high tech stage of our evolution. Okay. And if you look back through history, you can see these shifts as they happened, but they are, the squirrel just went by my window, totally distracted me. Literally a squirrel, you guys. So this, you could see the shifts happening. But what I've noticed when I look back is that every time there was one of these shifts, everybody acted the same way. Everybody went into panic. Everybody went into uncertainty. Everybody went into scramble mode. And history continues to repeat itself until we choose to respond differently. Okay? It's not going to stop this cycle of evolution until we choose differently, to respond differently. Okay? Remember Y2K? Same thing. In 2000, right? The same thing happened that's happening with the vote right now, right? We had a popular vote. The election was overturned. Okay, everything is happening just as it's supposed to be. So we need to stop playing in the low vibrational energies of fear and worry and uncertainty, and start using that uncertainty as an excitement, as a, oh my God, something amazing is going to happen. This is happening for us. It's going to open up potential and possibility and opportunity. And we don't know what's coming, but if we don't know what's coming, that means we get to focus on what we want to come, which means then we get to create what's coming. Right? Because what you focus on, you create. What you focus on expands. So you can focus and share all over social media about how you don't want the vaccine, or how the vaccine's going to do this, or how the government's going to do this, or you can shift your perspective and you can share the potential and what you're excited about creating, what you want to create, the opportunities that are coming. You can choose to be the change. And being the change means we don't spread fear. It means that we don't share the narrative from the government. It means that we don't judge people for having different beliefs than us. We don't do those things anymore. That is not a 5D thing. That is not an enlightened state of consciousness. Okay? What is having compassion and grace. What is allowing people to walk their own journey. What is enlightenment is seeing potential and possibility, is seeing that that person is having that belief because that's where they are on their journey, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? It's not a rejection. It's not a wound. So we need to clear this, all this wounded energy. And we're going to be doing that with this massive karmic cleanse. Okay? So I know that's a lot of information. This is going to be a lot of information, you guys. So take deep breaths. And let's keep going. So we have 3 themes this month. Right now we are in patience and restrictions. So I'm sure you'll notice that a lot of the states are starting to get a little bit more tied down, right? A little bit more restricted. And we have to have a little bit of patience, right? They know, the government knows. They know about everything that I'm talking about. They know what's happening. They don't want to lose their grips on controlling. Okay? So in order to ensure that, they have to get a tight grip before all of this starts to open up. Do you see how that kind of leads into things? So know that you are supported. Know that you are surrounded by loved ones and guides and angels. Know that you are an aspect of God, that you are the creator, and that you just need to have a little bit of patience right now, and know that true freedom, you guys, is discipline over your ego. So don't allow your ego to get the best of you, saying that, you know, you can't go anywhere and getting all into the negatives and I can'ts and I don'ts and all of those things, right? Find peace inside of yourself. Create a Zen place inside of your home where if you don't meditate, you can sit in peace, you can play music, you can lay down, you can be by yourself, you can have peace. You can visualize and experience the things that bring you peace and joy, right? That calm your nervous system and allow for you to be fully present, to be fully aware and fully knowing that right now in this moment you are safe and that you could close your eyes and visualize anything in the world. Nelson Mandela got out of prison and said it's the freest he was ever. It was the most freest he'd ever been in prison. Why? Because just because you lock someone up doesn't mean you take away their freedom. Freedom is found within you. It is not found outside of you. It is not found in financial gain. It is not found in traveling the world. Freedom is a state of being inside of you. And what they want to do is take our freedom away. But what they're really doing is pushing us inward to find our freedom so that we can stand up and choose to take our power back and say, you can do all the things you want, but we're still free, right? You can't take somebody's internal state of being away from them. It's a choice you make to relinquish it. So the second thing will be coming into the middle of the month. That's clarity/confusion. So why did I put both there? Because this is very interesting, you guys. And if you've ever seen the movie Erin Brockovich, it's a great example of it. So in the movie Erin Brockovich, the water place, right, because that's based on a true story, leaked the documents out that there was contamination, right? They said, oh, here's some truth that we kind of have to put out there. So they kind of slipped it out there, put it out there, and then they talked about all this other stuff, right? So they created confusion around the truth. And that's what's going to be happening in the middle of the month. We're going to start to see a little bit more truth being revealed, but at the same time, there's going to be so much false truth, right? Purposely false truth also pushed out there so that you are confused on what's true and what's not. So a lot of people this month are going to think, oh my God, I'm so clear. I know what I'm supposed to do here. I know what my purpose is. I know what this thing is that I've been in conflict with. But I want to tell you, don't take it for face value. Don't act on that clarity just yet. Allow December to unfold and then go back to that clarity in January with new eyes and see if it's still clear to you in the same way. See if it's still true and resonates with you. Okay. And this is going to be collectively and individually, because collectively, and this was the craziest part, is the guide said, even the alternative news platforms are going to be bringing forth information that they think is true, but isn't necessarily true. So this month is very much based upon you guys using your discernment and using your intuition to say, something doesn't feel right here. Okay. So your truth is always going to be the truth you need to follow. Even if someone tells you that truth is wrong, it's your truth. You need to follow that truth. That's the important thing. Okay. In the end of the month, the pathway is revealed. This is huge because, as I said last month, right, there's going to be this grand opening, right? This great awakening, this event is not a one-day thing like so many people are saying it is. Everybody's focused on 12/21 and the solstice and when this actual great conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius is happening. Everybody's focusing on that one day. But that one day is just the alignment. It's just the alignment where it allows for the codes to begin coming through that are going to be waking people up. And everybody's going to be experiencing an awakening at a different level. So some people will be, their codes will be received, but they won't fully open and launch because it's not time yet. Some will have a slow progression, and some will go through spontaneous Kundalini awakenings. And some are going to have, this is where the loss of life comes in. Some are going to get so deep and dark in that dark night of the soul that they're going to get to that doorway. And I've stood at this doorway twice, you guys. That doorway is, I don't want to be here anymore. That doorway is suicide. And when you step in front of that doorway, you're always given a choice because these are off-ramps. Okay? Suicide and accidents and things like that, these are off-ramps. We have an end date that we have chosen to be done with our journey. Pleiadians are coming in. But on the way, we also created off-ramps. We have opportunities where we can choose to exit this game. We can choose to not play it anymore. So when you're standing at that doorway, you have a choice. All right? When you have that choice, you can choose to go or you can choose to wake up. And so many people are going to choose to wake up, but there is going to be people who choose to exit. But hear me when I say this. It was their choice, their soul's choice. Okay? So, let's get back to it. Let's go over some dates because I really want to get into the tips, you guys. I really want to give you stuff that's going to help you to navigate this and to not get to that level, to not get so wrapped up in the emotional upheaval of this karmic cleanse that you know how to process and handle it. That's the most important thing I can give you guys today. But let's go over just some dates and what's going to happen in a somewhat linear perspective. So 12/12, this is when the feminine energy is really starting to heighten, right? This is normally a portal date. It is no different. It's a portal date. We're stepping into the new. This is the beginning of the awakening. This is the beginning of that wider, broader awareness opening up. And if you notice, these dates are all super close. So this 12/12 opening was associated with the 11:11 opening, with the 10:10 opening, with the 9:9 opening. It's always a progression that's happening, right? We're going through these corridors as we're traveling through different sectors of space. So on the 14th, we're going to have a full solar eclipse in Sagittarius, okay? This is huge feminine energy. Let me tell you, if you're a Sagittarius, some big stuff has the potential to be happening within you, okay? But Sagittarius is a fire energy, right? So it's like igniting the fire. It's igniting the fire of the karmic cleanse. It's the beginning. We move on 12/15 the next day. We move into a new sector of space, and we're going to be experiencing a new galactic spin. Okay, so a lot of you guys have heard me talk about the new Earth, or other people talking about the new Earth, right? It's not a whole new planet. It's not. It appears that way because we're going through this ascension, right? Our body's what's ascending. Gaia is what's ascending, which is also called Earth. And so it's a higher version of consciousness. So how the best way I can describe this is let's say we're both walking down the street. I'm awake and you're asleep. And what I mean by that is you're not conscious, right? You're not as aware as I am, right? And as we're walking down the street, you're going to see hate and violence and restriction and all of these things, where I'm going to walk down that same street and I'm going to see rainbows and butterflies and peace and love and people treating each other the way that they should be. Same exact street, same exact time, but we're experiencing completely different realities. And this is the way how spirit works. A lot of people think, oh, heaven is above, hell is below. Okay, that's how they feel about things. But really, spirit is right here standing next to us. But they're on a different dimension, and each dimension has a different vibration. And vibration is the rate of speed in which you process information, okay? Your frequency determines your vibration. So they are vibrating at a rate that is so fast that we can't always see them, all right? So that's what I'm talking about. That's what it's going to mean for the Earth to shift into a 5D consciousness, which, by the way, has already happened. But remember, like I said last month, this is all slow motion replay with alternate endings, meaning the end result is the same, but the alternate ending of the way we get to that end result is different. And in case you're wondering, love wins, period. How we get there is determined collectively by you and me. What we believe, we think we need. And if you guys keep focusing, if I keep focusing, which I don't really do, but just to not call myself, I'll make sure I call myself into this too. If we keep focusing on the negative, if we keep focusing on what's wrong, if we keep focusing on the hate and the evil, that's all we're going to get more of. And we're going to be choosing a harder road of evolution, of unfoldment. But if we choose to take our power back, if we choose to say, no, I'm a sovereign divine being and nobody is going to tell me. I'm going to come together with my peoples and we're going to overturn this. We're going to say, no, that's called civil disobedience. This isn't burning buildings. This isn't rioting, any of that. This is a peaceful stance of, I'm simply not doing it. There's no trigger. There's no anger. There's no frustration. It's just a standing in your power and saying, no, I'm not doing that. I'm choosing me. I'm choosing the people. I'm not doing it. So I want you guys to really hear me when I say this. How this unfolds next is really going to be determining based upon what collectively is unfolding, right? What you're focusing on. Are you tired of this and ready to step into the new, right? If you do, then you have to change your belief systems. You have to change your thought patterns. You have to change the way that you speak and type and post things. Okay, so we have a new galactic spin that's going to start on the 15th, which is going to be beginning the Diamond Light code templates that are going to be coming through. On the 18th, we're going to be moving in, we'll be fully into the new sector of space. We will be aligning on the 18th with the galactic center. This is when Diamond Light codes are going to start coming in. This is when gamma rays are going to start coming in more than they already are. This is when we're going to be in a sector of space that is so rich in photonic light and light codes that we've never experienced it in this way before, okay? And when that happens, as that light comes in, as I was telling one of my spiritual development students today, when I feel that, so Wednesday of this week, I pretty much, I got up, I worked out, I had my breakfast, and I went back to bed and meditated and went back to bed. And the reason why was because I was feeling and anchoring light for the collective. And what that looks like, the best way I can give you a visual, it's as if someone put a huge faucet above my head, opened my crown, and started flooding me. And then my feet open up, and it literally feels like water is pouring out of my feet. And this is what it means to be someone who anchors light in the grid, right? Helping to bring that light in for Gaia, into Earth, and in for the collective, into the 12D grid. So when that happens, if you have any programs running, any density, any, old wounds, resentment, anger, grief, shame, guilt, it's like a boulder. And then you imagine thousands of pounds of pressure of light coming in. It's like, this is what it feels like. It takes a toll on the physical body. So if you start feeling, right, like you have body aches, if you have a fever, but you don't really have a fever, if you're just burning up, if you are feeling lower back pain, if you're having stomach upset, if you start coughing and get like allergies in the wintertime, right? If any of these things happen, I'm not telling you don't go get medical advice, but what I'm telling you is that there's probably a purging that's happening on a physical level. You will also see people who go through serious depression, or what we call dark night of the soul. We see people that start having real mental issues because they're starting to have these new belief systems come in, or they no longer resonate with their old belief systems anymore, but they're not quite sure what their new belief systems are yet, right? So these are all phases of an awakening. But that flood of light that's going to be coming in is going to be affecting every single person differently. So anything that you experience is going to have an emotional, energetic connection, right? Because we are energetic beings. This is a physical body, yes. But the only reason why it's alive is because our spirit is inside of us. So if you have disease, if you have illness, if you have sickness, if you have emotional upheaval, it's always energetic first. And this is why things like cancer return, right? Because they treat the physicality, but they don't treat the mental belief, and they don't treat the emotional root. Okay. And in order to really understand, we got to attack all three, right? That's the whole point of the triangle. Unity, 3, mind, body, spirit. So we are going to be aligning with that galactic center. We're going to have the diamond light codes beginning and the gamma rays coming through. Huge amount of photonic light, you guys. I'm not even kidding. Don't be surprised if you guys have massive headaches. All of that kind of stuff is possible. It doesn't mean everybody's going to experience it. And then on 12/21 is what everyone's calling the event. It is the solstice. It is the great conjunction. It is the great activation. It's the first time in 800 years that Saturn and Jupiter have come to 0 degree that close together. And obviously this is the first time it's happening in Aquarius. Interestingly enough, some of the guides have alluded that this is the return of the Star of Bethlehem. Isn't that crazy? The Star of Bethlehem. So this is the solstice activation on 12/21. We align because Bethlehem is actually, the Star of Bethlehem is actually associated with Saturn, for those who don't know that. This is going to be putting us in that opening. So from 12/21 to about I don't know, the middle of January 12th, 13th, somewhere in there. That is that big window of when any of these activations can happen, the awakenings, the dark night of the souls. And then it will continue beyond that. But this is when the majority of the heavy energy, awakening energy activations are going to be coming through, is over that month. And know that a lot of times, if anybody's ever had a DNA activation by me, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? We do the activation and the codes are awakened, but they don't unfold immediately. Most of the people that I do my activation and restructurings, it takes 6 months for them to fully kind of go through all of those activations and they really begin their journey. And the reason why is because if they don't do it that way, then they have, what do you call it? I'm in channel mode, so I can't think of the name, but they have an emotional, like it's like they feel like they're going crazy, right? It's too much. It becomes too overwhelming. And that's actually what happened to me. And so I have ensured that the way that I do my activations, that they don't do that, because that is really traumatic on you. So anyway, those codes are going to come in and they will unfold as they're meant to. So maybe 3 months, say maybe March, April, some people will all of a sudden be like fully aligned. Okay. So if something huge doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that you didn't receive from it. Okay. Everybody has their own life path, their own divine plan. It's already pre-mapped out, and you're going to get exactly what your soul needs when it needs it. You're always right on time. You're always right on time. All right. So when that happens, that's really going to be the core of this big energy. But remember, let's go back to the individual journey, right? So we have that karmic purging, we have the dark nights, we have the spontaneous awakenings. So let me flip this over. Look who learned how to work her whiteboard. There we go. Okay. So this is what you really need to know. This is what you came here for. All right. This is what we're going to talk about now. This is how to navigate this. This is the tools that you need to really understand. And if you really want to dive deep into understanding if any of this is like, I don't know how to do that, right? I have a self-mastery academy that takes you from the beginning of your awakening to mastery. You're more than welcome to come in and explore that. Like I said, I also have a 4.5-hour event on 12/12 where you can come and ask questions as well. So, and if you don't resonate with me, there's other teachers. And if you're looking for a different teacher, I'm more than willing to help you find a different teacher. Okay. So let's go over what this is. So the number one thing was what you believe will be. We talked about that. Do you even believe that belief? Is it yours? So when you have a belief, I want you to ask yourself, and this isn't in any type of order, it's just laid out. Where did this belief come from? Especially if it's a belief that's limiting you. Where did this belief come from? Do I even want to have this belief? Or am I open to something new? You don't have to know what the new one is, but you do need to be open to having your mind open, right? A new belief coming in, having it restructured. The second thing is one of the most important is maintaining your frequency, okay? A lot of people call it vibration. I just explained why I don't call it that. Frequency is your emotional state of being. Frequency determines your vibration, right? What you're vibrating out, what you're sending out to the universe. So how do you maintain your frequency? Well, you practice being in your present moment. The present moment is right now, right now, right now, now, right now. It's not 5 minutes ago. It's not 5 seconds ago. It's not last week, last month, last year, 10 years. It's not what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not what's going to happen in 6 months. It's not what's going to happen in 3 years. I know we have a lot of people focusing on the money shifts because that's part of the structure that's going to shift. And here's what I want to tell you that actually came through for me recently, which is, yes, we are going to go from physical money to digital currency, meaning Ethereum, Bitcoin, the cryptocurrencies, right? But that's only going to be for a little while, you guys. It's not going to be for a long time. And I don't know when that shift, they haven't shared with me because, again, once we get to a certain frequency, it's kind of hard to put a time on it when time doesn't exist really anymore. So we will go eventually to a place where there is no more money. There is no more money. And there's no more bartering. There's no exchange in that way. It's an energetic exchange, right? So think about yourself and how much you love somebody, how much you give to them from your heart, how much you invest into them, right? That relationship that you won't leave because you've invested 20 years into it or you've invested 5 years into it. That's an energetic, emotional investment. And if the other person hasn't been returning that investment, it's not an equal exchange. It will be similar to that. Okay. So yes, we are going to go through some time where we are in a digital currency, and that shift is coming pretty rapidly. But please know that that's not the end all be all. We are going to a place where there is no currency. in the form of physicality or digital for that matter. So maintaining your frequency, kind of squirreling all over the place, but that's just the way these go. Maintaining your frequency is really about being in that present moment, because when you're in the present moment, you're not worrying about the future. You're not dwelling over the past. You know that right now in this moment, you have a roof over your head, you're safe, you love yourself or you love other people, and everything's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just okay, right? It's neutral. And that is the frequency that you're going to maintain the longest, is neutrality. If you're trying to constantly stay in a conglomeration of emotions that create happiness, you just can't sustain it for that long. It's not something that our bodies can sustain well, just why they can't sustain low frequencies. Neutrality, that 0 point that you often hear about, is the energy that we're able to hold the longest, okay? So presence, when you're present, you're more aware. When you're present and you're not in your head, you're more aware of what's happening. You're more aware of how you feel about what's happening. You're more aware of what other people feel are happening. You're more aware and able to stop yourself from reacting. Okay. And I have lots of videos on presence. There's even, it was one of my first TikTok videos actually was on how to be present. Another way you can maintain your frequency is not watching media, right? Stop watching the news. Get your news an alternative way, meaning maybe you just read headlines or you check for 5 minutes a day just to see if, anything major's happened. But please don't watch the news. It is nothing but manipulation and mind control. It is not worth it. And if you are an alternative conspiracy, whatever you guys want to call it, news person who likes to watch that kind of news, also limit that as well. Because sometimes we can get so wrapped up and go down these holes that we're not present to what's happening in our reality at this moment and how that's affecting us. Okay? So spend more time listening to high frequency music, listening to personal development from YouTube. I mean, YouTube, Insight Timer. I'm on both of those. And most of it's free or by donation. So utilize all the resources that you can, right? Find people that are in a different vibration, that aren't constantly complaining and talk about what everything is going wrong. Find people that are more into experiencing joy and bliss in their life. Spend more time in nature. Take salt baths. Eat clean, meaning don't eat processed foods that are loaded with chemicals. Stop loading yourself up with fried foods and heavy foods like meat and cheeses, right? I'm not going to ever tell you to become a vegan, but we have to be mindful of where our foods came from and the energy that's involved in it, okay? So really clean up your guys' diet, move your body, dance, walk, exercise, get out in nature, listen to high vibrational music, regular music, whatever gets you feeling good, right? Sage your home on a regular basis. Sage induces oxytocin, right? Which is that chemical when you're first in that relationship and you're like, oh my God, I'm so in lust, right? That's oxytocin. Did you know that you can manage your own oxytocin levels, that you don't need to get it from an outside source? So sage your home, be intentional, declutter, right? Really be mindful about how you're feeling in any given moment. And it's a class that I actually just recorded for one of my new courses in my academy. And one of the modules was all on attuning yourself to your emotional body, which means you know what you're feeling at any given moment and you know what that feeling, what sensation it is, right? Because feelings equal sensations in the physical body. Sensations equal information. Information allows for choice. So the more you're aware of how something's affecting you, and if you even want to do what they're asking you, you have to be present and aware enough in your own body to say, hey, this doesn't feel good to me. What this person's saying on TV doesn't feel right to me. I'm choosing differently. That's why presence is so important. Okay? So maintaining your frequency. If you have a low vibration, then you're going to attract more low vibrational experiences. Okay? Self-trust and discernment. This means you trust yourself over anybody else. You trust yourself over the government. You trust yourself over your parents. You trust yourself over your friends. You trust yourself over me. You trust what feels aligned to you. And you don't follow the masses into the woods, right? When I'm telling you the road less traveled over here is the road you want to take. We don't have to always agree and be with everybody else. We have to start shifting over here and going in a new way. So trusting yourself, discernment. Is the emotions that you're feeling, is the energy around you, is that yours, or are you allowing yourself to be influenced by another, right? This is the empath's core right here, right? I got to protect my energy. Well, energy projection in the word, right? When you say protection, you're implying that you don't want to feel something. And if you don't want to feel something, then you're in resistance. So what you're really saying is, I'm not going to protect my energy. I'm going to enter into resistance because I am you and you are me. So if I'm feeling something that you're emanating, it's because it's also inside of me and I'm a resonant magnetic match to it. Okay? So there is no need to protect your energy. What you need to do is maintain your frequency. What you need to do is be present in this moment so that you have the awareness that what you're feeling is somebody else is upset. And now you can have compassion for them and grace for them and understand that they're just upset and they have a right to have that emotion. And you can be discerning and be like, they're upset. I'm not upset. So I don't need to react. I don't need to entangle myself into that energy. I don't need to absorb that and take that on. But a lot of empaths do because they're still in the wounded healer stage of their evolution. They're still in stage 2. And if you're a wounded healer, you're like, I don't want anything. I'll give away everything for free. I don't want to charge. I want to help everybody. Let me fix you. Let me fix you. Right? We marry and date men that are broken and wounded, and we want to fix them because we see their potential, or women. Right? That's the wounded healer. And that's most empaths that are in that stage where they're like, oh, I just want to help you and fix you and make you better, because they can feel your pain and discomfort. Because that pain and discomfort is also inside of them. But they didn't have to do that. They could have stood in their sovereignty and said, I see what they're feeling. I understand what they're feeling. And now I can speak differently. I can send them more love. I can be more graceful. I can give them more space to work it out on their own. Because when we interfere in someone else's journey, we're doing them a disservice. We're not here to raise people or to fix people. We are here to allow people to have their journeys and to hold space for them and to love them for where they are on that evolution. Okay? Presence leads to awareness, which leads to choice. We talked about that, feeling it and surrender. This is the one I want to talk about most right now, because this is the dark night energy. This is the real deep depression, sadness. What does it mean to feel it and to surrender? So when we feel and surrender, when we feel anger rising, when we feel sadness rising, right? We start to feel the tension in our back or the pain in our stomach, and we have that energy. What I want you to do is I want you to stop what you're doing. Just stop what you're doing. And I want you to step away. So if you're in a crowd, if you're at a party, if you're whatever, step away, take a bathroom break. You don't have to tell people what you're doing. Just say, excuse me, I need to step away for a moment. When you feel that trigger coming, when you feel that emotional upheaval coming, and you know it, because when you're anger, right, you feel it. It's like a rush of energy that's about to come up, right? And it happens in split seconds. That's why being present is so important. But when you start to feel the sadness, when you start to feel the grief and the heaviness that we're all experiencing, we're all grieving right now, step away, find a place to sit down, and I want you to focus all of your attention on where you feel that in your body. Where do you feel the sensation in your body? Don't focus on the feeling. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. And if you do, make sure you use the words I feel, not I am, because you're not commanding that that's what you are You are. You're not claiming I am anger. You're saying I feel anger, right? Emotion is energy in motion. So what I want you to do is sit down and I want you to feel the sensations in your body. So let's just say you're super angry and so your shoulder blades are pulled back, they're super tight, maybe your throat's bulging. I want you to just focus all of your conscious awareness, all of your energy on those points. And I want you to begin to breathe. Just sit there. Don't go into the story. Don't listen to the reasons why you're upset. Don't go there. Bring all of your attention to the sensation in your body and breathe with it. Here's something that I'm going to tell you. You can't hold an emotion for very long. So when you hear the term, you got to feel it to heal it, it's legit. Oh, looks like we're losing Instagram. It's legit. You only have to feel it to heal it. That's the secret, you guys. You just have to sit with it and not resist it, not fight it. Lean into it. Breathe. You won't be able to hold it for a long time. It will dissipate. Allow yourself to feel it and not to hold on to it. Don't try to hold on to it. Some people perpetuate it because they go into the story, right? I'm sad because of this and this, poor me, victim energy. Right? We all have our moments where we're going to play the victim, but now is not the time for that. Now is the time for you to literally feel that energy and just allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to be angry. Say, I am disempowered right now. Own that you feel disempowered. I feel disempowered right now. Own it. Take away the charge and breathe with it. Accept in this moment that this is the way you feel. It's temporary. And if it's a big purge, right, if it's lasting, then that's when you pop in a movie of something that is a similar emotion, right? So if you're sad, find a movie that's going to invoke tears, right? If you're angry, same thing. Find something that's going to invoke tears because you really need to break that barrier. Anger is grief's bodyguard. That's why people get angry. It protects them from feeling the pain of their emotion, of their wounds. So my father died 3 days before Thanksgiving. And this year was the 5-year anniversary of that death. And I knew this year was going to be different because something I shared in my academy too was the wound of the strong woman, right? I've always had to be strong for myself to survive my childhood and my life. I had to be strong for my kids. I had to be strong for my spouses. I had to be strong for my community. And now that I live by myself most of the time, this time I was going to be alone and I didn't have to be strong for anybody. And this time when I was purging another layer of grief for that, it was probably just as, if not more intense than the day I wanted to kill myself. But I had a different awareness this time because I'm so awake and I'm so aware that I had the awareness that this isn't real. This is something I'm purging. This is something that I'm letting go of, and I have to just be with it and feel it completely. This is our well, and I had to go to the bottom of my well and sit down on the floor and sit there and just feel the emotion that was coming up. And so I was very intentional about how I processed that, right? I watched a ton of movies that were about grief, that were about things that would make me cry, because I didn't want to go into my own story of the death and what I could have done differently, what he could have done differently. I didn't want to go into the story of my wounds because it's done, it's over with, and you're never going to recall it the same way as it was in the beginning. So what I did was I tuned into other people's stories on movies. And I allowed myself to cry and purge and cry and purge and scream. And that lasted about 12 hours, maybe longer. And the next day I woke up and I cried for about 3 or 4 more hours on and off. And I got up and I got to my couch and I sat there and I started putting on sad movies again. And what I noticed was I couldn't hold it anymore. I couldn't hold the sadness. And I started to watch the sad movies and there was no more tears. The well had run dry. And I noticed I had entered into a state of neutrality where I was just relieved. I was just at peace. And I was like, okay, I have purged. I have purged this down. The well is now empty. And I noticed that within a few hours of being in neutrality, I began to feel hope. I began to feel uplifted and inspiring, and started and shifted to movies that were about success stories and turning things around, the comeback kids, right? And just that shift. So after 48 hours of going through this, on the third day I woke up, I feel like I probably lost 10 pounds. I felt 10 pounds lighter emotionally, and everything was different. I saw life through a whole nother lens. It's like I always talk about this as our lens, right? And how many wounds we hold is how dirty that lens is. How closed off our belief systems is how clean and clear that lens is. I felt like the lens was not just clean, it was rose colored and diamond encrusted, right? It was different. And that's because I allowed myself to go through that. I allowed myself to purge. I didn't judge myself for being an emotional mess. I didn't judge myself for screaming and crying like a 2-year-old. I didn't judge myself for sleeping for 2 days. I didn't judge myself for what my body was craving to eat or drink during that time. And I didn't eat or drink a lot either, by the way. I did not medicate it. I did not numb it with drugs or alcohol. I did not numb it with food. I did not numb it or repress it or avoid it or deny it or try to fix it. I didn't use my Healy even, right? This is a class 2 medical device. It's like an energy healer and a device, right? I could have used that. I didn't want to fix it. I held space for myself. I showed up for myself, and I loved myself through the pain. This is what I'm asking of you guys to do when the dark night comes to your door. Feel it. Surrender. Surrender into it. So here are 2 big ways to notice if you are present and in your heart center, or if you are not present and you're in your head, okay? So presence is inquiry and curiosity. Something that I didn't write down, I don't even know if I need to write it down, but it's instead of using the word, and I challenge you guys to do this, instead of using the word can't or don't or things like that, use the word how. You're not even going to be able to see it, so it doesn't matter. Use the word how. So instead of saying, I can't afford something, I can't go on that trip, I can't do what it is I want to do, use the word how instead. How will I be able to, I wonder how I can go on this trip. I wonder how I can purchase this thing. I wonder how I can make this happen. Because when you use inquiry and curiosity, what you're saying is, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm open and I really want this to happen. So if it's meant to, I wonder, how is it going to happen? And then surrender, let it go. Okay. So be an inquiry, curiosity. When something goes wrong, when something doesn't work out, when something is, you feel like you've just been blocked, or, like you want to go do this and it didn't work out. Instead of feeling like someone just slammed the door on you, instead say, I wonder, curiosity, right? I wonder what opportunity or possibility this is opening up for me. I wonder, what is this an opportunity for, right? I lost my job. I wonder what's coming for me next. I wonder what opportunity is going to show up. I ended my relationship. I wonder when my soulmate's going to show up. I wonder what my soulmate's going to look like. I wonder what it's going to be like to be single for a while. I wonder how much fun I'm going to be able to have, or what new things or people I'm going to meet. Stop cutting your guys' selves off and step into inquiry and curiosity. That's heart-centered. Share joy and alternatives. So again, I talked about this. The big hot topic right now is the V word, the thing that's the shot that they're going to give you. That's the big hot topic right now, right, amongst people. So are you going to share about all the bad things that are going to happen with that? Are you going to share about how it's going to limit you? Are you going to spread and expand and buy into that narrative that they are sharing? Or are you going to choose to say, these are some other things you can do instead. These are ways that you can have a strong immune system. These are ways you can do X, Y, and Z. Are you going to be the change, or are you going to further perpetuate a narrative that is not serving our collective? All right. So You share things of joy. You share that you're walking through life, creating your reality, that you have peace and bliss in this moment, that you may not have everything you think you want. You may not have the house on the beach. You may not have the career that you want. You may not have all the things. You might not be traveling, but you have so much to be appreciative for, right? And I like to use appreciation over gratitude, because gratitude's a thing of, well, it's better than, where appreciation is like a sunset. It's just something you admire. And you're like, I'm going to admire the fact that I have beautiful Christmas tree with lights on. I'm going to admire the fact that I have a beautiful view out my window, right? That I have animals to cuddle with, that I have kids that are laughing, that drive me crazy, but I wouldn't have it any other way, right? It's a different energy. It's a different frequency. Everything happens for you. Huge. Someone asked me the other day on Instagram, they said, how are you so positive all the time? And I said, because I know everything's happening for me. It's not happening to me. Everything that's happening is happening for my greatest growth and evolution, always. And even though it doesn't always feel good in the moment, I know it's happening for me. And I can shift that and be like, well, this is it. And sometimes I'm not even in that, right? Sometimes I find something that's happening and I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating. And then a friend has to remind me, or spirit has to remind me, hey, it's happening for you. And it's like, oh yeah, right? Because nobody, when we get to that stage of we have moved through all of our triggers and all of our wounds, and nobody on this planet is walking perfect, that's trigger free and doesn't have any issues. This is a journey well beyond this life. This is why all our lives, past lives, are happening all at the same time, right? It's happening all simultaneously. So everything happens for you. And if you can shift yourself to see that, you'll find that you're able to turn your pain into purpose much easier. Letting go, right? You let things go. You're not resentful. You don't hold on. You're not attached. When it's raining, you're like, yep, it's raining. I accept that it's raining. I'm going to let go of the fact that I wanted to go out and be out in the sunshine today, right? It's a level of radical acceptance. Being the change and the example, I'm pretty sure I've talked about that enough today. And then opportunity, again, part of curiosity and inquiry. This is all openness. You see how open that energy is? Let me show you it through another way, another perspective. Whereas we go into people who are not present, and even I today still have moments of not being present. I'm not perfect. No human is, so don't try to be, by the way, either. But it's worry, it's fear, right? It's guilt, shame, it's anxiety, it's sharing fear, it's sharing the narrative, it's sharing those terrible things that are out there. It's manipulation, right? And it's judgment. So fear is a really broad statement to make, but if it's the simplest thing I want to convey right now with fear is, if you are doing something or saying something because you want someone to like you, because you don't want someone to reject you, because you don't want to have conflict, because you want to make others happy because that creates safety, that's all fear responses, right? If you're sharing and fighting and struggling with somebody, trying to have this power struggle over who's right and what belief system, and red pill, blue pill, or whatever you want to call it, that's fear. Because if you weren't, when you're fighting for something in that way, a defensiveness, that means you're afraid of something. So you want to notice when you're defensive, when you're in judgment, when those things are happening. You want to ask yourself, when you do something that you don't want to do, you want to ask yourself, why? If I'm going to do this, why am I doing it? If I'm going to say this, why am I saying it? Is it because it brings me joy? Is it because I want to share it? Is it because I want to create it? Is it because I want to do this thing? Because it also brings me joy. Remember, for me, for you, for us. When someone does something just for them, it's not self-centered, but if they're doing it for a self-centered reason, that's different. It's a different energy. But if you're doing something that, like taking care of yourself, which fills your cup, so now you can go pour into another cup, and now it will benefit everyone. But if you're empty and you're trying to do everything for someone else and you haven't taken care of yourself, that's selfish. And you want to know why? Because we are energetic beings. So if you have zero energy because you haven't taken care of yourself and filled it up, then you're going to take energy from another person in order to serve. You have to get that energy from somewhere. So take care of yourself, fill up others, me for you, for us. All right? Shift. We have to shift the way that we've been programmed. Manipulation. This is the martyr. This is the martyr. We've all been there, right? I'm so sick of these dishes. I'm so sick of nobody cleaning up after themselves. And yet you're sitting there doing it. And they say, well, let me help you. No, I don't want your help. That's a martyr, but that's also manipulation. It's a manipulation of the energy, right? So be mindful of where you're coming from. That's up in your head. That's creating a story, a narrative. That's creating something, perpetuating pain and projecting, right? When people go, you made me so angry. Nobody can make you feel anything. You are completely responsible for your emotions, always, right? They were so kind enough to push that button so that that energy can rise up and you can choose in that moment. Am I going to sit with this and love myself, or am I going to feel icky and project it back and yell at them and say, it's your fault? Okay. I know this is a lot of information, but I wanted to this was the most important thing for me to get to. Not so much the other stuff. This is important for you to know timeline wise, but they don't want to have me share anymore what I see coming collectively as far as that, because it's just inducing too much fear. Too many people are taking the awareness and the information that I'm saying, like this is a potential and this is a potential, and they're focusing on it, and then they're planning for it and preparing for it, and all that's doing is creating it. So when I give psychic predictions, those are potentials, and that potential has a high number of possibility of it actually unfolding. But this can change so rapidly, you guys. This is based upon the energy of this moment. And in the past, I've been giving the psychic knowing of what's coming for us in the physical reality. And what I've noticed is that people begin to prepare for that instead of choosing to be present and shifting that. Okay. So that's really, really important. So let me see if there is any questions. Can you explain what the ancients are? Okay, that's a good question. The ancients are a collective of beings. So the OG ancients, when I first see them in my third eye, they are, gosh, what was the movie? Frozen 2, where you see the giant, you'll notice how most movies represent a lot of what's happening in the unseen world. The giant boulder beings that walk. When I first met the ancients, when they first came into me, I asked to see what they look like, and that's what they showed me. They showed me the rock collective, these big, giant walking rock beings, right? That was the symbol that they showed me, right? I remember everything's metaphoric. But as I got deeper into the connection with the ancients, it was more than that. It was the rock and tree collective, which is the original beings of the frequency of Earth. And included into that collective now is a lot of the indigenous tribes. And so there's a lot of that energy mixed in with the ancients. The ancients are the ones that know how the beginning of this earthly experiment and game was created. They have a lot of information based upon where we've been thus far and how we've navigated it. And so they are helping to bring that back up. What you will begin to notice, and I've already begun to see it, is so much stuff being unearthed, right? People are finding things. They're discovering that under Antarctica there are things that are going to be revealed, right? There's going to be things that are in Lake Tahoe that are revealed, in the Great Lakes that are revealed. There's going to be this rise of this ruins of these ancient information and texts that are going to help us to navigate moving forward. But before all of that can be revealed, there's already been lots of it showing up, right? It's just not in the mainstream. But we had to return the power to the people before that can happen, because we don't want our government coming in and taking that and manipulating that that information. We want that information belongs to us as the people, not to a one small minority collective. So I hope that that helps you. So let me see. I didn't bring my glasses. Let me see if there's any other questions on here that I can answer before we wrap, because I've been on for quite a long time. Be sure to share this out, you guys. Hi, Ashley. Equal respect with different responsibilities. Yes, Mike. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, Karen. Election has been proven a fraud. Here's what I'm going to say about the E word. It's not over, not by a long shot, but it really doesn't matter. If you guys have watched my other broadcasts, you'll know that the guides have said for years, when they quit voting, the real change will happen. Okay, the government is going to shift. We're not going to have a government in the way that we do right now. It's not going to be a thing, right? It's going to be different. And I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but it's going to shift. So to be honest with you, it doesn't quite matter. The person who ends up taking the office one way or another is going to be what the collective has chosen to experience based upon what they are focusing on, right? So again, you've got to bring all your focused attention and awareness to what it is that you want. One's going to have a much more, I wouldn't say peaceful, because both roads are a little chaotic, but one's going to have a little bit more power to the people from the get-go, where the other one's going to be more of a rebellion fight from the get-go. And there's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to go into on this broadcast because I don't want to get flagged, but that is, there's a lot behind the scenes that you guys don't know. Okay. And there is so much behind the scenes that you guys don't know. So focus on what it is that you want. Don't focus on what's happening. Don't focus on what you don't want. Focus on what you want. All right. I just cannot say that enough. Give your emotions all the space they need. Yes. Beautiful. Perfect. Thank you, Kelly, for tagging people. Thank you for doing that. Okay, does anyone have any other questions? Let me check in with Instagram one more time. Look at all you beautiful people showing up. Does anybody have any more questions about the energy or what we're going to be experiencing moving forward? Because I really, and what I want you to do is you guys can go back later and post questions, because I can come on and do a live Q&A. I know this was a lot of information. And so just know that what we're about to experience, again, it hasn't happened in over 800 years, but the shift, there was a shift in the 60s. And actually, this is an interesting fact that I was talking with one of my spiritual development students today about, is these markers, 61, 81, 2000, and 2020, each one of these, is they were seeding of the star seeds, right? The 144,000 coming in. These was when the seedings really began, when we began to have that major shift towards going from separation back into unity. And if you notice in the 60s, again, I talked about that, was the rise of equal rights and feminine energy and the burning of the bras and equal pay and all that nonsense. In the 80s is when internet really began, right? So we began that. In 2000, remember Y2K, this really took off. The technical age really went pretty quickly over the last 20 years. Look how far we've advanced. But after this 2000, you know, each one of these 20 years, there's been a conjunction, just not one this magnitude. So what happened in 2000? What happened the year after 2000, 2001, right? We had 9/11. We started having certain things happen that were helping to wake us up and say, oh my God, like stuff that jolts you. But you know what the beauty of that jolt is? Not to make any light of any tragedy, but the beauty of the jolt is, no matter your race, no matter your sexual preference, no matter your gender, right? No matter your class financially, people came together. So do we have to keep having traumatic events to come together, or are we going to choose to take back our power? So that's how it happens. So this is a lot, I know. And if you guys need support, please know I'm here. You can always ask questions. I might do videos on it. I might refer you to a course or an academy. I might refer you to an event, but I give a lot of content for free, and always start there. Always get to know me and my energy. Always listen and resonate to where you're drawn to. There are so many wonderful healers and teachers out there that are sharing their light. Find the ones that you resonate with. Find the ones that help you lead yourself. I tell my students all the time, I don't want you to need me. I want to teach you how to trust yourself and lead yourself. If you're constantly looking for somebody to lead you, then you're not learning how to lead yourself. So my job is to teach you to do that. So find people that teach you to lead yourself, to trust yourself, because that is where the magic happens, okay? So if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to wrap. Thank you so much for all the donations that have come in. Thank you guys for sharing this broadcast out. And I will be back multiple times this month. Reminder, and I will post a link in the comments on 12/12. Obviously, that's the portal date. My weekend workshops are back. And so that's a 4.5-hour workshop. That's an opportunity for you guys to get on camera with me. Tell me what your struggle is. Tell me what's happening in your world, what you need help moving through. You can ask spiritual development questions. There's really not a whole lot off limits. It's a really beautiful thing. And even if you don't have your question answered, we create this synergy, and that's why I named it Synergy, where we create a collective energy. And so whoever is there, whoever feels drawn to go to this event, if your question is not answered, it will be answered through somebody else. And it is recorded, and you do get it. And it is half price for this month of December. I haven't done one since April. I've kind of taken a back seat on those. But people have been asking me to bring them back. So until I can do them in person, we're going to do them on Zoom. I'll be dropping a link. You guys can get that if you want to. Other than that, I just want you guys to know that I love you and that you guys are stronger and more powerful than you know you are. It's time for you to dig deep into your well and take back your power and choose to be a sovereign divine being. Choose to be the change. We can do this, okay? So I love you guys, and I hope you all have an amazing Friday evening. And I will see you next time. Bye.